Hey, it's CJ Wilson here with Dope Talk. Want to jump right into our linebacker portion of our preseason going into fall camp positional breakdown. This linebacker room is pretty much going to be revamped from the linebacker room we saw last year, as they as there's been a lot of portal activity and things like that. So we go ahead and jump right into it. The first linebacker I want to discuss is Elijah Herring. Elijah Herring, a transfer linebacker from Memphis. As you guys know, he started his career out of Tennessee, transferred to Memphis, and now Florida State. Was a big piece in spring practice for FSU. I know Coach Tony White spoke highly of him in regards to being a leader by example. His play on the field was showing, signs of leadership in regards to how he was performing in spring practice, making big plays and things like that. A veteran linebacker who, in my opinion, is the best linebacker we have on the roster. He's been stellar pretty much every stop he's played at Tennessee and Memphis. During his first 3 years of his career, 151 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, and 6 sacks to go along with 2 interceptions. He's a big time playmaker, a welcome addition to the linebacker room. I think he's going to be one of the leaders within that front seven. All right, moving on to the next linebacker I want to discuss, and it's another transfer, and it's Stephon Thomas, linebacker transfer from Nebraska. This kid pretty much is a Tony White expert when it comes to the defensive scheme that Tony White runs. He started out his career at Syracuse with Coach White, transferred over to Nebraska with Tony White as well. Now he's following him over to Florida State. So he's a veteran when it comes to knowing the scheme of the defense and what Coach Tony White wants to do. Played a lot of snaps, a lot of football within his career. He's had 22 starts, and within those 22 starts, 199 tackles, 20 tackles for loss, and 10.5 sacks. So pretty gaudy numbers for Stephon Thomas coming over from Nebraska. Played a lot of football, like I said, a veteran linebacker, brings a leadership presence within the room as well. And also just the aspect, I guess you could say, another coach on the field, being that he's very familiar with the defense. This past spring was the first welcome to Tony White's defensive scheme from the players that are on the roster. But a kid like Stephon Thomas, who's been there throughout, this is his third program with Tony White. He knows the playbook inside and out. He can help those guys on the field. All right, the next linebacker I want to discuss. This is pretty much like the tale of, I guess, say night and day. He did a complete 180 from the start of the season to the end of the season. That's Omar Graham. If you guys remember the Georgia Tech game over in Ireland, it's probably a game you want to forget, but just looking back at that game, Omar Graham probably played the worst linebacker game that I can remember personally from my point of view. He was bad in that game, just simply put. Long story short, he took that on the chin, got better, reviewed the film, worked on his craft, didn't go into his shell and tuck his tail and run, whatever you call it, and things like that, and keep declining, so to speak. He pretty much used it as a learning tool, didn't get discouraged by the online banter and things like that. He kept getting better, better, and better. And by season's end, Omar Graham was one of the best players on the defense. He played a lot of good football down the stretch for FSU. Daryl Jackson and Omar Graham were probably the two players that stood out the most to me within the tail end of the stretch of the season down during that 2-10 season. So I really like what Omar Graham has built within the 2024 season, throughout that season. And the reviews we got in the spring practice is he pretty much took off, picked up where he left off at, and continued to play pretty good football in spring practice and be a key contributor within the defense. So I'm excited to see what Omar Graham could do this year within the new scheme, Tony White scheme. All right, we got Blake Nichelson here. He's going to his junior year. He's probably the most athletic linebacker on FSU's roster. Played running back in high school as well. Can do a legit 4.4, 4.5 type of speed. But the issue with Blake last year is just it wasn't his athleticism, which is kind of putting everything together and thinking on the field too much, if that makes sense. It was more so it was like he wasn't being instinctive in reacting to certain things. It was more so kind of feeling his way through, second guessing, and trying to figure things out. You guys remember Blake is new to playing the position of linebacker full time. He was an athlete in high school, played both ways, but didn't really focus on linebacker specifically. So And it's a tough position, no doubts about it. So it was his second year. I'm looking for him to take a leap this year, being year three. I think it's a critical year for Blake Nichelson in regards to for the light bulb to go off, put everything together from a defensive standpoint, learn the position, and use his athleticism and kind of use athleticism, instincts, knowing the playbook, all that type of deal, knowing the position, and putting that all together and becoming a complete football player. So this is a very important fall camp and a very important season for Blake Nicholson, as he was a four-star recruit coming out. Another linebacker we'll discuss is Justin Crier, and Justin was one of the better linebackers for FSU this past season, but had some injuries that derailed this 2024 season. He's kind of like the polar opposite of Blake Nicholson, from as he knows what he's doing. He's very instinctive. He's pretty much generally always in the right spot. Just doesn't have that oomph or extra athleticism to make the play. If you put if you combine these damn linebackers, you get Blake Nicholson and a Justin Crier's instinct and mindset. Hell, you got an All American type of linebacker right there. But again, I like what Justin. He was a leader as well as a true sophomore. Want him to build upon getting healthy first of all, and build upon his sophomore year going to his junior year. He's not going to be the best athlete. That's just never going to happen from a stature standpoint and things like that. He does have physical limitations, but again, his advantage is his instincts, being his instincts, being in the right place at the right time, keying in on plays, smarts, and just being a savvy type of player and flowing to the ball. If he can continue to build on that, I like Justin Crier to be a pretty nice piece within FSU's room. Our next linebacker I want to discuss is Caleb LaVelle, transfer from North Carolina. Was a redshirt freshman last year for North Carolina. Got his first start within the bowl game and led the team in tackles. Was going to be a redshirt sophomore for FSU. I think Caleb is a year away as far as contributing significant snaps within the linebacker room. Look for him to be more of a special teams demon unless we have some injuries down within the 2025 season, which we definitely hope doesn't happen. But look for Caleb to develop more this year and for his junior year start to be a factor within the linebacker room from a rotation standpoint. I can see special teams for Caleb LaVelle. All right, we got Jayden Parrish, a redshirt freshman as well. Again, I think it would be special teams for him. And the last one is Ethan Pritchard. He's a true freshman from Seminole County. Um, I like these two linebackers from a physical standpoint. They're thumpers. They can play the position. I just think next year will be the year they start competing for real snaps for FSU. It'll be more so special teams for those guys as well, in my opinion. Of course, my opinion doesn't really matter when it comes to actual putting putting the cleats on and getting on the gridiron and actually getting live reps and playing football. They control all of that. So we'll see how things play out in fall camp. But this was the linebacker positional breakdown. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the Dope Talk community if you haven't already. It takes 2 seconds to hit that like button. Hit that like button like I stated and subscribe to the channel. Go Noles.